Welcome to the Heather Pitty Podcast. This podcast is about going after the life that you're made for, not just surviving life, but actually thriving. So thanks for joining us. Let's jump in.
Hello, everyone. I'm looking forward to this time. I wanted to just do a solo and talk to you a little bit about what my last year has been like. My year of 2021, my word for the year was compassion. And one of the things that I talk to about with people is just this idea that to have compassion for others, you have to have compassion for yourself. So one of the ways that I showed compassion to myself this last year was to hire my own coach. And I had a great year working with him. And these are some of my takeaways. And I just wanted to share them with you because it really transformed and influenced me. And it was happened to be the same year that I was launching a book, doing some pretty exciting things in my life and my work. My business was really taken off. I had a lot of different corporate clients and private clients and retreats and conferences, and just had a great time, had a great team around me. But with my whole world kind of growing and even exploding in a lot of ways, I needed some of my own support and some of my own help. So I went and hired my own coach because my basic philosophy really is that authentic leadership starts from within. So who we are as an individual and as a person is really what makes us and shapes us. So we have to spend time kind of cultivating that inner world and that inner life to make sure that we are setting ourselves up to be not only the leader that we want to be, but to be the person we want to be the wife that I want to be the mother I want to be the coach I want to be the friend I want to be. All of these are things that I want to make sure that I am taking the time that I need. And I'm not so busy working with everybody else and coach them, but I'm getting my own support and my own work done. And even as a counselor used to call it with me is the growth work. She used to say, yep, do your growth work, Heather, do your growth work. And so I've thought about that quite a bit. And I always have hired people around me to say, hey, help me do some of my growth work. I'm trying to level up here and in the work that I do and expand some of my ways of thinking and give myself the capacity I need to step into the life that I want and I know that I'm made for, but I need some newer ways of thinking. And usually that comes from bringing someone else in. So just a little opportunity for you to kind of peek into my own life and let you see what I do to cultivate my own life so that I can support serving and giving back to humanity in my work with coaching clients, both private and corporate, and supporting their inner world so that they can step onto their teams and back into their worlds really with their best sense of self. So one of the things I like to do in my work with people is I truly believe that if they can find their own clarity and their own confidence and their own courage, they can be their best self, which is the biggest asset that the company needs. The most important resource that any company or organization has is their people. So in the work that I do, I say, hey, let me first start working with the individuals and the people. And then I truly believe they will bring their own clarity, their own confidence, their own courage that will exponentially grow the clarity, the confidence, the courage of that team and that organization. So the work we do in our inner work supports who we are as leaders and how we show up for ourselves and for our team. And I believe that's what makes us great leaders. So I try and practice what I preach, and I do my own inner work. And I want to give you 6 takeaways that I learned from my coach in this last year that I spent. And it also kind of leads into why I moved into 2022 with this idea for the word welcome. But for 2021, my word was compassion. And part of how I needed to show more compassion to myself was really to slow down and hire some great coaches around me. And the very first lesson I learned when I worked with this last coach was you get to belong to you. And I'll tell you a little bit why that was so important. You know, when I first started my coaching company about 12 years ago, I didn't have a lot of people weighing in or giving me ideas or thoughts. There wasn't much expectation of me at all. I was just trying to figure out how to get clients. And there's some peace that happens there because you have this quiet world where you get to develop and decide who you are. The beautiful challenge that comes with success and as your world grows is you have more and more people weighing in, more and more people have agendas for your life, more and more different types of clients kind of come out of the woodwork and want different things from you. What that's going to require is just kind of a resetting to say, wait a minute, who am I and what do I want to give? What type of coach do I want to be? What do I really value? And how much of what I'm doing is really connected to what I'm made for? So as I was launching this book, The Life You're Made For, I just wanted to make sure I was really belonging to me, owning my own power. Sometimes we get this pull, especially the more people that are involved in your life or the more your clientele grows, you start getting this pull where you kind of belong to them. And if you struggle with people pleasing like I have, and I call it the tap dancing, you just start feeling like you're tap dancing, trying to show up for everyone else's agenda, trying to figure out what they want, what will make them happy. And it becomes a vicious circle where we start letting go of ourselves more and more until we become a shell of who we want to be. That's not what I want. So as my world began to grow and my clientele began to grow, I'm launching my book, I realized I want to make sure that I'm returning to who I am and really know who I am and affirming that I get to belong to me. And so that was really the first thing he said to me was like, Heather, you get to belong to you. I don't know why I needed to hear that, but I did. I think I was feeling the pressure of a lot of people pleasing. Out of that comment really came this awareness of owning my own power, staying in that space and recognizing quicker people who were starting to put obligations on me. And they were in my personal life and they were in my professional life, but people who kind of treated you like you owe me or you feel obligated to me or there's a sense of guilt, I began to realize, yeah, they don't want me to belong to me. They want me to belong to them, to their agenda, their ideas, their needs, whatever else is going on. I began to recognize that quicker and it helped me just hold my own in this world as I began to say, no, that's not going to work for me. Or, yeah, I'm not interested in that. Or I'm not a fit for that type of project. Or there are different coaches out there that do what you want, but I'm not one of them. These were things I learned to say in a very kind and clear way. And it allowed me to strengthen and really grow my own sense of clarity and really my confidence of who I want to be and really the courage to say it. So that was a powerful first one, kind of one of my first takeaways. So along with getting to belong to yourself, there were two things that my coach taught me that I had to do. And I remember him saying, Heather, you need to have a declaration of independence. I don't even think I realized how much I was trying to please people because I was trying to manage a larger world. And I think this false belief started creeping in that you got to make sure you're making everybody happy. I didn't realize it was creeping in until I started feeling this fatigue, this strain, this stress, some of this anxiety was starting to come up again for me because we're not made to do that. So one of the things he said to me is, you've got to have a Declaration of Independence. And I literally ordered a Declaration of Independence and read through that. And I thought, yeah, I believe in freedom so strongly. But then he added something else to it. And he said, not only when you do a Declaration of Independence, it's a declaration of war. And I remember that was so unsettling to me. I thought, I don't want to declare war. I just want to be free. And I want everyone to be happy that I'm free. That's not really the way the world works. When the United States pulled away from the British, they said, we declare our independence here. And it was a declaration of war against another country. So I don't think I'd ever put the two and two together. I think I wanted the Declaration of Independence, but I didn't want to declare war. And I say that carefully because I'm not someone who's angry about anything or wants to go out and beat or drum on anything. But it's this awareness that, okay, when we declare our independence, we have to be prepared to defend it and prepared to recognize that there will be resistance that comes against it. And I don't know, it gave me a sense of peace, just knowing what could come when you declare your independence. And it gave me, again, this power to belong to me. The second thing I had to do in belonging to me was, he said, you got to burn the ships. So this goes back to Cortez. And for those of you who are history buffs, I'm sure you know more about this than I do, but it's this idea that when they landed in this new area, they started missing their homeland. They wanted to go back to the ships. And he started realizing that they were kind of thinking about going back. And this was becoming too hard to pioneer a new region. And so he went out and burned all the ships, took away that option. And what that was is a reminder. My coach taught me this, was just saying, Heather, you got to burn the ships. You've got to burn the ships and be cognizant of the fact that you're all in and moving forward. There's nothing to go back to. There's only something to move forward in and to build and to pioneer. That was a poignant awareness, again, that links back to you get to belong to you. So honestly, that was a huge first lesson that I learned from my coaching. And that's 1 out of 6. The second one I really learned was this idea of finding the right partners and the right friendships. Again, I was feeling a little bit of fatigue with some of the people that were coming in and out of my life, but I wasn't really evaluating them. And he literally said, are they intruders or are they guests? And he goes, I only let guests into my life. I only let guests into my life to work with me, to befriend me, to be a part of my projects. You have to start determining which ones are intruders and they're kind of trespassing into your life. You haven't really invited them in, or which one are guests. Again, that kind of helped me to kind of take my power back and started having more discernment about the type of person that I was either signing contracts with to help me for my creative projects, to the people I was bringing on board to grow my company, to the actual personal relationships I was inviting into my life, and even literally who I invite into my home. And I love hosting people, but it was this awareness that I want guests into my life. And honestly, I want to be a good guest. I don't want to be an intruder in other people's lives. I want them to feel like that they have a good, honorable, respectful guest that comes into their life. So not only is it what I want from others, but it's who I want to be. The third takeaway I really learned was to be all in. The coach I worked with was really into big dreams. And he said, don't be afraid of the big dreams. Then he added something else. He said, and all the work that it takes to get there. I don't know. Sometimes we just want one or the other. We want the big dreams, but we'd rather opt out of all the work. I think just listening to that and thinking, okay, I think sometimes I'm afraid of the big dreams because of all the work. And I began to realize I have what it takes to step into the dreams and the work. And I've got all the right people around me to support me. They are great people that can help me do what I can't do and help me hold what I cannot hold. And again, it had to kind of push on one of my false beliefs that I have to figure it all out myself. In order for my world to grow, I had to allow more and more people in that I trusted, which also means that I had to be more selective, that they needed to be guests, not intruders. But I needed people also joining me saying, I am all in with who you are and what you're trying to develop and the message you're trying to give to this world and how you're trying to serve humanity. And in doing so, I get to serve them as we synergistically kind of create this partnership of we're all in to really show up for our best lives, to show up wholeheartedly for the life that we're made for. So that's all I partner with. Those type of people, they're saying, yeah, we're all in. The fourth thing I really learned was this idea, what I'm calling fully owning your power and your presence. In my work, I get to speak, I get to teach, I get to have lots of great one-on-one conversations. I do groups, I do retreats, I do conferences. I have such a great time interfacing with people. But sometimes it can be intimidating because you're not sure what you're stepping into. And it takes you a little bit to orient. And sometimes you show up and it's a very unexpected situation. I even remember just recently showing up on a Zoom call with the group coaching, and it did not go in the direction I thought. They were in the middle of a lot of crises. There was some really challenges with some employees there, and they needed to talk about that. And I needed to create a space for that. I wanted to talk about some other stuff about inspiring leadership, but they needed to talk about some hard things. They needed direction on it. You really never know what you're walking into. And so you try and meet the client where they're at. You try and meet the person where they're at, but you're also fully aware of the fact that you hold a certain amount of power and they hold a certain amount of power. And so you're trying to honor both your own personal presence and your power that you hold within yourself, and you're trying to honor theirs. Sometimes they may ask me, well, what should I do? Are you kidding? I don't want to tell them what they should do. I want them to feel very powerful and empowered to make their own decisions. So I'll walk through the different options with them. We'll think through it together. But I want them to feel their power, but I want them to also feel my presence in their power and my belief in their power. So this idea of power and presence is something that I am taking a closer look at to both hold my own in this world, but also help other people hold their own. I believe if we can hold our own well, and it's not a power move, it's not a power grab, it's not a pushing down of people. It's this, I get to hold my own power as I serve through this power, and I get to empower other people to grab onto their power and be their best self in this world. So there's a confidence that we hold together in one another's presence. There's a trust that we get to empower one another. And to be able to do that is a high responsibility. So how I hold my own power and how I encourage other people to either reach out for more of their own or to strengthen more of their own power, and actually to believe in their own power. It's a lot of the work I do. I don't want to hold it for them, though. I want them to feel like they can hold it for themselves. And I want to be here coaching them through it and showing them that they have so much more potential and powerful presence than they realize. So that was the fourth one of fully owning your power and presence. And a fifth one, I just love this phrase, so I'll just share it with you. He used this phrase of, Heather, you get to curate the experience. I think I have lived with a bit much fear and anxiety of, oh my gosh, what I'm walking into, whether it's a small group or a boardroom or a organization or just a group of people, or even a party, a personal party with friends. I think I've lived with more of, oh my, what am I walking into? What am I walking into? Again, him reminding me, you get to curate the experience. That was such a powerful phrase for me that allowed me to start really enjoying the anticipation of what I was walking into. There was nothing to fear. There's nothing to feel anxious about. I get to be a part of curating the experience for myself and for the people in that room, or for the other person on the other line. And if they need comfort, I get to offer comfort. If they need more clarity, I get to step into that. If they're nervous about something, I get to examine their beliefs and figure out which ones are false and help them find some true beliefs. If they're lacking courage, I get to teach them about this idea of we get to build and engage our courage. And yes, it happens through vulnerability. Courage cannot happen without vulnerability. So it's this idea of really stepping into an experience and curating it with the other person, but also allowing that person to be a part of curating it with you. And that comes through question asking, that comes through kindness, it comes through humor, it comes through grace, and it comes through just acknowledging sometimes the needed reassurance and comfort we all need when we're trying to grow. The actual process of growth, I have a tremendous amount of empathy for, because it is challenging, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's scary, it's vulnerable. And sometimes you're not sure if it's the right thing because it's so uncomfortable. I get to just be the voice that says, oh, that pain you're experiencing, yeah, that's growing pains. That uncomfortableness you're experiencing, oh yeah, that's what it feels like to level up. We all want these big, beautiful lives, but sometimes we confuse the pain of what it means sometimes to grow into these lives. And so we tend to avoid it, right? Put our hand over a stove and it feels hot. We want to pull our hand back. Part of my work is to just step into the experience with people and say, it's going to be okay. You're going to thank yourself later. This is what it feels like to grow. And it's going to take all your courage right now to step into that needed conversation, to step into that move, maybe to step into a dream that you've been wanting to do, or a huge risk. It's uncomfortable. And sometimes it's even very painful. but it's a critical part of how we grow as human beings. So I meet people a lot there, and I just help them curate the experience by kind of creating some context for them, some comfort, and also just some encouragement. You've got this. You've got this more than you think you do. And why? Because I have coaches in my life that say, you can do this, Heather. You can get out there and you can speak. You can do other things, when sometimes I just want to hide or I've gotten too many zingers that day and I just feel like I want to pull back. I hire my own coaches, my own therapists who step into my life and say, okay, I see what's happening here. It's just pulling out a false belief, or it's starting to impact your confidence, or you've got too many intruders in your life and not enough guests. You get to go back and you get to curate this experience. So not only is it an experience of when I walk in an organization, do I get to curate that, but I actually get to curate how I live my life day to day. As I work out of my office, as I work with people, as I interface with my 17-year-old son and my husband of 28 years and the neighbor down the street, or stepping into a grocery store, whether it's my personal life or professional life, all of it gets to be curated by me. And I love that idea. I love that idea, instead of feeling like you have to show up almost like a victim to this world, not sure what's going to happen. And so I want to encourage each of you to just be aware of how you curate your own experiences. And then last but not least, I think this idea of living on purpose. I love a purposeful life. I coach people on this idea of a purposeful life. And one of the things he said to me is our lives are about a journey toward purpose. And I liked how succinct that was, because when we recognize that, it helps us to not waste time, and it helps us to start becoming more purposeful. Why do we do these things? What is the motivation behind why we do these things? And when I started really thinking about, why do I do this work? And why did I go into this almost 12 years ago now? Well, it came from this idea that I had that a team is only as good as the individual. So I wanted to work with the individuals, which is why I don't come in and start doing workshops or conferences or retreats with organizations, but I start with, give me some of your key players and let me start doing a one-on-one call with them. As I start working with them, I get to know them because they represent the culture of that organization. They represent the most valuable assets there. I want to get to know them. As I listen to them over the course of several months, out of that, I start designing workshops, kind of coaching curriculum, ideas for the organization, because I believe they are giving me an insight into the clarity that they need, where the confidence is waning, and really where they're needing more courage. Right now, I'm working with an organization there's a lot of fear in the organization. And my clarity on the fear is it's stemming from a lot of change that's starting to happen. So I want to support that change and say, listen, it is a very normal thing to feel fearful when we are changing and growing. Why don't we just talk about it and talk about what we're scared of? Because I listen to it all day long, and I'm hearing why people are scared and what they're fearful of. Everything from job loss to failing to unsure about next moves to not knowing what they're doing because they've never done it before. And they kind of whisper it to me. And one of the things I'm noticing is we get to all get in the same room and say it to each other, because we are all trying to live purposeful lives. We're all trying to understand why we do the things we do. And we want to have a strong intrinsic motivation for stepping into that. We want a peace about our purpose in this world. So I think learning how to live on purpose requires a level of community to check our purpose. Whether you check it with a coach, whether you check it with a friend, whether you check it with a group or with a colleague or with your supervisor, learning how to check your purpose and your motivation behind the purpose has been a powerful experience for me. And my own coach said to me, why are you motivated by what you do? What is motivating you to keep doing this, to write this book, to do podcasts, to step out in this world, to coach more clients? And I thought, I want to help as many people as I can. I want everyone to feel like they can go find their clarity. They live with a sense of confidence that they actually can influence to either grow or shrink. They have courage within them that, again, they can either build and engage or they can diminish. I want people to know this. And in my book, it's like a manual for you to sit down and start really cultivating your own clarity and your own building your own confidence and engaging your own courage. I want people to know they can do this on their own. So that's why the book has this presence of, I wish I could be there with you and talk with you through this. But here's the next best thing. You're going to feel my presence in this book and this chapters, and hopefully you're going to feel the ability to find your purpose in this world, to go after the life that you're made for, to get clarity on what makes you feel most alive, to recognize that you get to influence your confidence level by what you believe, and really to learn that courage comes and grows with how we engage it, not with how we avoid it. So those are my thoughts, those 6 main areas. And I'll review them again as I start wrapping up, but it's this idea of the first one, you get to belong to you. And in doing that, you got to burn the ships. You got to have a declaration of independence. And with that comes a declaration of war, but you get to belong to you. The second one is with your partners and friendships in life, make sure that they're guests and not intruders. Third one is just be all in. Don't be afraid of those big dreams and all the work it takes to get there. Commit, be all in. The fourth takeaway I had was fully owning your own power and presence no matter wherever you are. And then the fifth one was you get to curate your experience. And then the sixth one is living your life on purpose, with purpose, growing that purpose, remembering what that purpose is. Because all of this is the key to help you go after the life that you're made for. So I thought you all would be interested in hearing a little bit behind the scenes of me. This was the year of book launch. This was the year I hired my own coach to help keep me centered and make sure that I was really living the purposeful life that I wanted to live. And I was listening to the voices that I wanted in my life and inviting in the people that I wanted in my life so that I could keep growing it. So as I wrap up, I just want to say, go for it. Go after your clarity, go after your confidence, go after your courage, and be encouraged that you have the power to do that, and invite in people that will support your clarity, that will support this 3C living of more clarity, more confidence, and more courage in your life.
Thanks for listening. And please drop a review. It really helps us out wherever you're listening from. And if you want to find out more about your clarity, your confidence, and your courage, go ahead and get my book, and you can find it at heatherpenny.com. Cheering you all on.